firm. Today, we're honored and privileged to have Jim Sosinski, a practicing accountant, share with you the specific steps he's taken to regain control of his accounting practice. As you'll hear momentarily, Jim is an engaging speaker, extremely knowledgeable, and most importantly, has implemented the ideas that he's going to share with you to build up a highly profitable practice. My name is Marie Simaglia, and I'm a practice development consultant here at Accountants World. As a practice development consultant, one of the major concerns I hear from the accountants that I work with is that the stress levels due to time constraints keeps increasing. Today, Jim will share how he's growing his practice and at the same time managing to reduce those time challenges. Today's webinar qualifies for CPE credit. In order to earn your CPE credit, we'll have 3 poll questions during Jim's presentation that you must answer to receive the CPE credits. You may ask questions during Jim's presentation, and you can do so by writing them into the chat box on your screen. If time permits, Jim will try to answer them after his presentation, or he'll get back to you via email. It's now my pleasure to turn this presentation over to Jim, who will take you through the steps that he's implemented to regain control of his accounting practice. Jim?
Hi, thank you, Marie, and good afternoon, everybody. I first want to thank Accountants World as a company, as well as Dr. Bonsali, for inviting me and allowing me to speak to everybody today and share with you, a few of my philosophies as well as procedures that I've taken to really gain control back of my accounting firm. But before I begin, I want to tell everybody and share with you, I'm not a professional speaker. I don't give webinars, I don't give seminars, I don't stand on a stage. I really am one of you. I sit at my desk every day, I roll up my sleeves, I process work. This is why this presentation is not scripted. It's pretty much, I speak on my own, I speak from the PowerPoint that's in front of you, and just basically speak and share with you processes, procedures, and well as overall philosophies that I've learned over the last 30 years of my practice. Next slide. First, a little bit about me. I'm going to tell you the agenda for today, my background, a little bit of the composition of my practice. You get to understand who I am and the kind of work I do. We'll review the key challenges that I faced that caused me to lose control of my practice, and then give you the specific steps I took to gain control back of my practice, and then the results that I found from doing that. Next slide. So first, my practice. Pretty much, my practice is a small business niche. The small businesses that are small enough that they have compliance issues, whether it be taxation, payroll, accounting, bookkeeping, but small enough where they're not big enough to really hire their own bookkeepers on staff, and it really falls down onto the husband, the wife, the owners of the company to really try to get the bookkeeping and the payroll and all the things done on their own. Secondarily, as probably we all are, is individual tax prep as well. And that is really the key point of what I want to talk about today, is the effect that tax season, the individual tax season, has on our schedules, has on our overall cycle of work in our offices. And that is something that is unmovable. And that's something we're going to review later today. So this is my back in 2016, this year was my 31st tax season, 31 years in practice. I'm located in Cranford, New Jersey. My practice is, as you see by the slide, pretty much 44% of the revenue comes from tax planning and prep fees. My partner and I do about 1,100 returns, of which 900 individual, 200 are other. Those are the small businesses, estates, trust, etc. We have about 200 small business clients, 160 of which are your general, after the fact write-up clients. Payroll represents 15% of my practice. Those other 40 clients are more hands-on clients, where we do a much higher level of engagement. They use the term outsourced CFO services. We also do live payroll, as I said. We process about 15,000 paychecks a year, which results in about 800 W-2s a year. So the reason I think I was asked to speak to you about today is, the question of, how do I process the volume of work with the level of staff I have? So next slide. The one thing every year is, I consult and talk with other practitioners in my area, and that was like a common theme. Every year that we go over how many returns you did, the type of returns, and the staffing levels and what you did to get it done. And every year that was a common theme that I've heard from fellow practitioners that, Jim, I just don't understand how you can get the volume of work you do with the level of staff you have. So as you see on the screen, this is really the current makeup of my office, 5 in total, 2 accountants, myself, my father-in-law, who's heading into semi-retirement now. He's in his early 70s. 1 bookkeeper, 1 junior accountant, and 1 office manager, 1 administrator. Now, tax season we hire another 1.5 people, which are pretty much just clerical in nature. But I also want to share, this is also a newer model for me. Last year, or a little over a year ago, that would have said 2 accountants, 2 bookkeepers, no junior accountant. This model has changed. It's evolved due to the nature of the work we do, the tools that are available to us. And I'll get into that later on in the presentation, but using the technology available today, we have very little manual entry left in the work that we do. That is freed up where I don't need bookkeepers who are there to key in information and put data in. I moved over to a junior accountant who can bring the work much closer to close, actually through tax return on the small business clients. But let's go. How did I begin? Next slide. The first thing I really had to do was a really honest and truthful, in-depth review of my practice. Every single aspect of my practice. Pretty much the literal, who, what, where, when, why, and how. Specifically, the when and the how work is done. When work is done, how work is done. I had to sit and really did a review of my procedures, processes, staffing, and what each staff member was in charge. But that basically all results in workflow. Finding out, what was fixed in the workflow, things that I couldn't control, things that I could control, things that I could possibly change. And that's what I really had to do. And it took a good, 2 weeks to sit down, quieter time of the year with a legal pad and write a lot of this down. But this review then gave me a laundry list of key issues or challenges that I faced each and every day in my practice. Next slide. So what are these challenges I face? What's causing me pain in my office is the best way I could put it. Technology, right off the bat. Too many clients using antiquated software. What version, what vendor are they using? What package are they using? What version of what package are they using? This all resulted, as we all fear, too many business and personal returns are on extension. That is a key issue that we all face. If you're doing the small business work, clients who are doing work on their own, they feel that they don't want to pay us to do it because they feel that it's cheaper just to spoon feed us the amount of work they want us to do. And they create a lot of bookkeeping errors. We know that on certain engagements, the first step every month or every time we go back into the work is just to make sure the file is, if we feel we wrecked out through April 30th, we go back and check those April 30 numbers to see were there any changes made, because all too often, there are. And that's just step one, is bringing the system back to where it was when we left it. Those old-fashioned cumbersome file transfers, having to do accountant's copy or just getting backup copies. It's really stop being in the Flintstones era and really fast forward into the Jetsons area. Standardization. Most clients that you find, if you let them set up their own set of books, have a different set of chart of accounts. To me, that means every time I go in to process a client, it's like I have to sit down and relearn that client, reacclimate yourself with that client. And that takes 10, 15, 20 minutes. And if you're doing it quarterly, less or more than that, that process even seems to take longer because you forget exactly how you work on that client and what you do with that client. And then the all dreaded, what we refer to as the annual client. Small businesses who will bring in 12 months of work, all to be reconciled, compiled, and done for their taxes late February or even worse off March. That was something I definitely had to put a stop to, because it was just, the busiest time in our offices, the most critical time of the year where we have deadlines to meet, and you have this volume of work pouring in. Another is I realized I realized in myself, I never said no. I took on any kind of client to walk on the door. The phone rang, the doorbell rang, the phone rang. I would go in and say, how can I help you? And no matter what they said, listen, I do this and I want you to do this. Other than audits, that's a whole different story. But anything in the realm of accounting and taxation, no matter really what the engagement was, I'm sure all of us, it pretty much is, you want to take it on. And then something that I found that, to me, in my honest opinion, is one of the most time-consuming data entry processes is when you're taking the time to integrate third-party payroll into your accounting system. They're using Paychex, ADP, any national company, anybody that's doing their work. Unless you're on a system that's, your people are using QuickBooks and QuickBooks Payroll that fully integrates, you're spending a lot of time doing this integration. Sometimes they offer exports and files. Sometimes it doesn't always work well. And if you want to use the true electronic bankrupt versions, systems that are available in the software you have, every single paycheck has to be entered. And if that is to be done by hand, that's a volume of work. So, because of these challenges, let's take a look at what my, really workflow calendar to year is. I made this, next slide. I made this calendar up, and I want to, obviously we can't discussion, but if we were sitting in front of me, I want to know how many of you say this looks familiar to you, where, starting the beginning of the year, you're not at a manic pace, but, come February, red, full speed ahead. Even after April 15th, April 20th, you're still getting work done. You're still in that orange manic mode. Quiet down middle to the end of May. Take a little bit of a breather. June really was a time just to, and at least I did, exhale, relax, just try to get some little bit of time and sanity. And after such many months of chronic and hard, day-to-day work, 7 hours a week sometimes, how many hours a day. July and August, that was our summers, tend to, business, you're still working, it's a yellow time. It's not green because, all the work and things that you put on the back burner during tax season, a lot of these things you're trying to get back caught up on. So it's not a green time. It was getting stuff done, but then there's that terrible color again, red. Come the end of August, knowing September 15th is the extension due date for business returns, all of a sudden, Labor Day is coming. That's it. Vacation's over. Back to work and get those returns done. I put orange in for September to beginning of October because, again, a little bit of an exhale. But then October 15th, personal returns. Again, manic mode to go in, get the work done, buy extension time. And then, again, work doesn't just immediately shut off. You're back to orange. But then you really, November to December, convert to green. This is pretty much what I found as to be a standard schedule. And even the software providers, why are all users conferences and seminars and things really loaded that last week of October, first week in November? They know that's the accountant schedule. That's when it's permitted to go. But the part I want you to key in on, and this gets very integral later in the discussion, at least I found in my office, tax season, which traditionally started individual tax season, which traditionally started end of January, beginning of February, that's getting pushed back now. That's getting pushed back February 15th, February 20th. That's when you really start seeing the volume of individual work come in. And that is all due just to things that are totally outside of our control. 1099s and financial documents are coming out later and later. The deadlines for those being released are later and later, and the clients aren't getting the stuff to us. So, unless you're getting a couple, smaller single W-2, easier returns in, the bulk of your my tax season really did not start the second, if not third week of February. And that was totally different because you were pretty much coming right out of year end and getting ready for tax season very, very quick. Over the last 2 years, 3 years, I've seen a significant difference to that. So that's a big area, and that's really an immovable object. That's what I'm focusing on, the things that are totally out of our control, is that February 15th to April 15th, everyone has that same deadline. We all are focusing on getting that work out the door. So that's a red period we cannot move. However, strategic planning and doing things and adopting some of my theories and processes the way I do things, you might be able to really lighten up the remainder of the year. I mean, listen, everybody knows the definition of insanity. We keep doing the same things over and over and over again, expect a different result. I think that's how we run most of our offices. So, Marie, I think my little note here says time for poll question number 1.
Thanks, Jim. Yes. All right. For CPE credit, the first poll question we'd like you to answer is, take a look at Jim's calendar and answer, does your workflow calendar look like this too? Okay, great. As I thought, most of you are in agreement with Jim, and your workflow calendar does look like this. All right, I'm going to turn the presentation over back to Jim. Jim?
Thank you, Marie. So pretty much I decided to make that change. I wanted to stop the insanity. I knew I had to make a change. Our lives, our profession is deadline driven. We live and die by deadline, imposed on us by all the various taxing agencies. So that one critical is something we can't move. But I'm sure you're asking, what changes did I make? Marie, next slide. So things that I went through, I talked about the pains and the challenges that I found. So I made decisions. I needed to make changes and eliminate antiquated technology. Basically step 1, the theory was I need to become proactive rather than reactive. I think that's a very bold statement in just terms of general philosophy, that accountants in general are reactive people. We wait for clients to get us to work. We react to it and process the work. That is where your mental attitude, I think, needs to change. And I really worked and changed mine on that. What I spoke about in the last slide, no more taking on every potential client. I learned to say no. I realized that I cannot be everything to everybody. That old adage is very true. You end up spending 80% of our time working on 20% of the client. That, again, is my definition of insanity. And also, along with that, is no longer letting clients decide how to do the accounting for their businesses. Stop letting the clients come and say, I want you to do this. That reactive, they hand you something and telling us what they want us to do, how they want us to do it, when they want it to be done. It all comes down to just listening to them. We listen to their problems, but we know what their problems are, because basically most of our small business clients all have the same ones. And the answer is, tell them we can help. Tell them that we know what they're facing, and let's just show you how I myself or our firm can help you. Not just be function providers anymore, but be solution providers. I decided no longer to farm out live payroll. And we'll go into that later. No more hourly or fee billing. Billing by time. I realized how much time I spent just really billing and tracking and doing that. I still track time. I want to check performance and what we're spending on clients, but it's no longer done with this big monthly process of sending out bills on an hourly basis. But doing things like this, you're really in the process now of moving from being really just another service provider to being a strategic business partner. And that's one of the key things that drives home my theories is letting your clients know that you're partnering with them. They've gotten into a business for whatever reason, a passion, an ability, a God-given talent that they can make money somehow, some way. That doesn't mean they have any clue about how to run the back office. That's where we come in to be that strategic business partner and help them do what they do best. It's the concept of billable time. Let them do what they do best to generate revenue, make sales, and us help them on the back end and really give them an efficient system for that. So, I realized I had to streamline and really document my processes. I don't want to say I run my office like a franchise, but we pretty much have an operations manual. This is how we do things. You lose total efficiency when you're ending up doing basically the same type of work, but in different ways for different clients. And really, the bold statement right on the bottom is no more doing a full year's worth of write-up work once a year. To me, that was the key that really brought everything together, and what made me really start thinking about my practice differently. And then, if you realize the piece of legislation that just came out this past year, the Trade Preferences Extension Act of 2015 includes substantial increase to failure to file and late filing penalties for information returns such as 1099s and W-2s. Well, W-2s, that's payroll. We know that, and if you're running their payroll with somebody else's, W-2s are not that critical an issue. It is if people are doing after the fact and you got to compile it. But what about the 1099s? We all know that is one of the IRS's most stepped up enforcements now, is the issuance, the timely issuances, and the accuracy of 1099. If you have a client coming in even in February with 12 months worth of work, you're already past the deadline for 1099. You and your client are going to be facing penalties for that. There's just no way you can really allow that type of engagement to go any longer, because there's no way you can get that work done to get 1099s filed and out quick enough. So the key to being able to deliver all this, in my opinion, is the right technology. Next slide. So main thing I did was I got on a cloud-based accounting system. It allows me to provide a solution for my clients rather than just services. It's scalable, it's automated, and it allows me, the accountant, the control. I control control everything from permission accesses to the chart of accounts. These are the things that now are in my realm, my control. The other thing is, I don't know if any of you noticed this, because I think it happened about a month or two ago, maybe 3. Intuit, leading provider in our industry for software. All along, everybody knew it as QBO, QuickBooks Online, or QuickBooks, which was their desktop version. They really didn't make a major announcement about it, but if you notice, they stopped calling it QuickBooks Online, and that is now their QuickBooks, period. QuickBooks Desktop is what they call what used to just be called QuickBooks. So you can even see in the difference in their phraseologies and where they're driving, how everything is more and more and more of what we do is being driven into the cloud. And that's actually a good thing. 24/7 access, software that's always updated, software that's backed up for you. You have real-time data. You have access to real-time data, because when you're in the cloud, everybody else is operating in the cloud. Your banking institutions, your credit card institutions. So you have all that data out there that is now able to communicate with each other. You no longer have to deal with multiple versions of software, the file transfers. And like any cloud system, you can customize this for each and every one of your clients. One of the key is that you can provide more timely financial advice to your client. Twofold. On their side, management side, getting them processing work quicker, processing them work monthly, gets them quicker with financial results. No longer are you giving them results of what happened 5 months ago, 4 months ago. Literally the next month, you can give them immediate feedback of what happened in the prior month. And then for us as tax practitioners, this time of year right now, I'm sure you all are, one of the things on my agenda is reviewing client files for tax estimate appropriateness. If there are people paying estimated taxes or clients, or if they're small businesses that are sub-S corporations, what are we going to do for their tax neutralization bonus at the end of the year to get more tax paid in? Well, first step is, all right, well, we knew what we based our estimates on, what was last year. Where are we? Well, if you haven't worked on a client's book since June, May, now instead of just projecting out 2 and 3 months, we're projecting out 6 months. A lot more difficult work. The more you have accurate data to work on, the more accurate your projections can be. So it's beneficial both to the client as well to ourselves. And it allows, again, for much faster accuracy in data entry. Functions like bank feeds, et cetera, and we'll get into a little bit about that later in the presentation about the actual tools that I use. But this type of technology moves you from desktop to the cloud. You're giving the client their very own system but you're providing it now rather than them finding it themselves. So let me get into how do I use this in my own office. Next slide. The old model, cloud-based software allows me to control the engagement. The old model was a client would go buy software. Packages are marketed and sold to our clients. They're then left in control in setting it up. They then invite you in, whether it's an online system and they invite you as the accountant, or they give you, backup copies. They're the ones running the engagement. And the way I process now, I've turned it all around. I've reversed the steps, all right? Having cloud-based software now allows me to provide them software, setting up the way I see fit, and then inviting them into using the software. And that is the key. And trust me, I'm sure you can all relate with me. None of my clients come to me and saying, Jim, I want you to get me a bookkeeping software package or an accounting system. They're merely looking for an electronic checkbook. Think back to the old days of Quicken. That majority of my clients are what they're looking for. They want to be able to pay bills and track their bank balance, and then allow me to take over. And that's where going into the cloud allows you to do that. When you set up the system, you can set the chart of accounts for a client. So pretty much, I think 90 plus some % of all of my clients have the same chart of accounts. So I know, advertising, 7,200, right off the bat. No longer are you going to have the clients making up chart of accounts on their own, with some with numbers, some with not, putting them all over the place. I now can offer complete accounting services. What do I mean by that? I think referred to it before as CFO, your outsourced CFO. I mean, I will have clients that I do your traditional after-the-fact write-up. Clients, we get, and no longer do they provide me a work. I use tools that are available later, we'll talk about, that I'm going out and getting their work. But right to full outsourced CFO services. I mean, I have a client, they're a debt collector. They don't have an accounting office. We literally do everything for them. And more clients are hiring us to do their bill pay functions. They're realizing that is much more efficient, much more time consuming for them, less time consuming for them, and more time beneficial for them, time savings, to outsource and let us handle these things rather than them trying to do it themselves. I work remotely. I work remotely from the client. I'm not going to them anymore. The amount of travel time I have is greatly reduced. I mean, I still go and visit clients and communicate with them. But what I found over the years now, when clients are up and running, I mean, there's sometimes I tell them, listen, come on, can we get together? Can I take you to lunch? And a lot of times they're like, no, Jim, everything's running fine. If I need you, I'll give you a call. Why? Because they know if they call me or if they email me, they'll get an answer right away. But working remotely allows you to collaborate with the client. And just an example came to mind. This past July, I myself was at a seminar out in Indianapolis. And that day I get a frantic email from a client that says, Jim, I need a copy of a financial statement. Well, sure, I could have called my office, got back, had a staff member do it, but I had my iPad with me. Not even a laptop. I had my iPad with me. I log into the account. I pull up the statement. It was in July. His statement through June was done. Click, send. The client was a very, very happy camper. And that is what this brings to you. And then all the other things, like no more updating software, no worrying about the backing up of softwares. This is what being in the cloud allows you. Getting back to the same statement before, we need to be more proactive than reactive. This is the key to help you better manage your schedule at work. Taking back this control. Next slide. So what is a better way of managing your work? And I mentioned it before, getting write-up work done monthly. To technology, bank feeds. Bank feeds drastically reduce the data entry. That's why in my model, I switched from 2 bookkeepers down to 1. This is a primary feature of technology now that allows direct feeds from banking institutions, from credit card institutions, right into your software. And with proper technologies that are out there, you can, even without even going into bank, having to go in and log into the banks, to check images, the images of bank statements all come through automatically without having to do all that extra work. And manual entry takes time, and it has errors. I mean, you have to go back, you do bank recs, and all of a sudden you're seeing that. But you're no more doing write-up work yearly. It gets done monthly. It is not a choice to clients anymore. As I said, books get closed each month. You close the books. Clients don't make changes to prior periods anymore. Many people find this hard to believe, but literally the first and second day of the month, depending what day it falls, I can come into the office and bang out 12, 14, 16 bank recs and client monthly works because the clients are keeping the system updated with, they enter deposits, they pay their bills and enter checks. Through bank feeds, it automatically updates any debit card transactions or things that come through the account. I'm processing their live payroll, so I populate that directly into the software. And in the first day, I have a dozen, 12, 15 clients bank rec because that is what the system allows you to do right now. Where are we getting, questions on entries. This is another thing that I don't even know if a lot of people really perceive. The concept that if you're working on a client's books in the fall, it's now November, and you finally get a bulk of work from the client. They're giving you work from January to current. You're processing the work, and you're coming up to some questionable transactions that occurred in February or March. You contact the client and say, client, what was this? What was this? Why was this? And you go, February, March, I'll get back to you. And what happened? It could take days, if sometimes weeks. If you're doing a monthly compilation, a monthly write-up engagement, what is happening? You get to work the next month. If some transactions appear that you really don't know what they're for and question, a quick phone call and email, I guarantee you that client immediately gets back to you within a reasonable time. Oh yeah, that was this, and this. I got a new food vendor. I got this. I bought. They did a repair on this. I bought shelves for the showroom, and they'll tell you right what it is because it's fresh in their mind. You can immediately move on to closing the work. The farther out you're processing the work, the more distance it's even in your client's mind and not remembering it. And then it becomes to them around to it. The proverbial, I'll get around to it. They'll get around to finding what the answer is and getting back to us, all delaying the process. But this is the key that I wanted to be building to. Business returns now get done in January and February because each month I go in and do a bank rec, close the month. What happens when January comes? I do the same thing. Do the bank recs, close out December. We have year-end adjustments now. We got the post depreciation. We have to post inventory, from the client. We verify the year-end loan balances and balance sheet items. But we're ready to go to tax. So this is the key, really, in summation of what we're talking about here, is that newfound downtime, that time where we used to be spending time starting tax season, January 15th through February 15th through February 20th, I've flipped my schedule. I'm getting done probably 80% of my business returns in that time frame using this system. Timely monthly write-up allows for timely reconciliation, timely reports, and immediately moving right to tax. Clients are ecstatic, especially ones that are multi-member LLCs, and you have people screaming for their K-1s, and they're getting them in February, and they're like, my goodness, I used to wait till the summer to get this from other people. So that is what you're actually bringing and accomplishing in doing this. You're not having that bulk of work. No longer, you have less of commingling of business and personal returns. You've almost set it up where you have business tax season as much as possible first. You're never going to have 100%, but you're as much as possible getting that business returns done early before that individual work flows in. And I think, Marie, by my note, time for polling question number 2.
All right, thanks, Jim. For polling question number 2, we'd like to ask you, do you currently offer live payroll services to your clients? So if you want to just take a moment to answer that question. All right, thanks, everyone. Jim?
Okay, so moving on to the next slide, another major piece of my puzzle is it not only gives me increased efficiencies because, as I said, To me, that was always one of the most time-consuming entries, was integrating third-party payroll into an accounting system, but it has also created another profit center for me. So with a cloud-based system, doing live payroll is easy. I mean, I literally, and this is no lie, I have processed clients' payroll on the beach of New Jersey, sitting with my iPad. Payroll is very profitable. It is, the efficient systems that are out on the market today do not cost you very much. And you see what other places, ADP and Paychex, are charging your client. Ridiculous amount of money, because they got, 3, 4, 5 different levels of people to pay out of that processing fee. And you can do it for half of what they charge, and it's pretty much, 80, 85% profit. Money flows in monthly now to you. It's not things that you have to chase for, because with live payroll, you can actually bill for it and collect it just like your clients do now. It just gets charged with each payroll run if you so choose. But the other thing is no running after ADP or Paychex to fix errors. I mean, that was one of the reasons I got into live payroll, was besides looking for another way to make money, and we're always looking for new profit centers. But so many times, because clients really don't understand payroll. I mean, I'd have a restaurant, we'll go in and put a new wait staff on the payroll with tipped wages, $2.13, minimum wage, but that's not full minimum wage, and nobody added tips. Nobody remembered to add tips. So that was just horrendous, and I'd spend so much time having to fix things with them. And then the seamless data integration into my package, tax package, into my, write-up package. The other thing it creates is, and I touched on this before, where I said I still go to visit clients, but with the use of technology, there's less need and reason to physically go and visit and stop at client. So how do you keep that personalization? Live payroll. Most of the small businesses have weekly payrolls. That means you have a weekly client touch. You touch that client, or someone in your staff, someone in your office touches that client weekly each time they process a payroll. That creates a bond. The more you do for the client, the stronger that bond gets. It really does. So how did I let my clients allow me to do this? Well, because I changed my processes, now that I changed the way I work, I was increasing my efficiency, I'm increasing time. I, convinced them that, and basically sold it strictly on money. I can do it for far less than they're paying their current providers, and, not give it to them in a box, meaning this is exactly what they have to do. Some of my clients like to go online and enter their hours. Others like to fax it in. They fax in a worksheet. Others send it via internet, via email. You're working with the clients. And again, I know I stress trying to do these things the same exact way for clients to add efficiency like a franchise. There's certain things you can have a little bit of tweak on, how the client gets you the payroll data. That's a small one, but means a big thing to them. So now that I've made these changes, go to the next slide, Marie. Let me share with you what my new work calendar looks like. You see on the left what my before was. We all saw that. This is my after. There's a heck of a lot less red there. And pointing out what I talked before, tax season red, that's not going to move. Middle of February to the end of April, that is a red that is not going to move. However, I got more orange January to February. Why? Because I'm processing a lot more work then. I'm processing those business returns we talked on. And again, the way I stretch it, just when I do things, I keep things ramped up with April and May to make sure I'm catching up on those monthly clients. I'm doing the tax season, but that bookkeeper and junior accountant, they're still going in and churning out that monthly work. But I want to go in now and make sure everything is up to snuff for the beginning of the year. June is the same, green time. July, I left as yellow because it is a quarter month. It's the end of the second quarter. There are quarterly filings and things we do. So it is a little bit more of a step up. So it shouldn't be a full yellow, but it's more of a greenish yellow. August is one of my favorite times of the year. But here's the big change. Because I accomplished and got so many business returns done in that first part of the year, I have on a handful, I can count on one hand the amount of returns are on extension. And as a testament to that, I can tell you that 2 years ago in October of 2015, I was on a cruise the entire time during extension. I think the cruise went from the 9th to the 16th or thereabouts. This past year, Monday the 17th, I was playing in a golf outing. Why? Because I took control back of the workflow. And this way, I mean, sometimes you're putting individual returns on extension, not because you want to or the client wants to. It's just because of the sheer madness of not being able to get the work done on time. By modifying the schedule and having that business work, 85% of your business returns done earlier in the year, now all of a sudden, in the crunch time of tax season, I'm processing individual returns. So the process gains and allows you to have a much, much greater reduced amount of returns on extension, both business and personal. So I do have, September 15th and October 15th as a yellow. It's not even an orange because literally, I mean, in my all office, remember I said we do about 1,100 returns? A dozen are on extension, less than 20. I mean, I have to look the exact numbers. But that allows the remainder of September, the remainder of October. I'm a football fan, love football and tailgating. That's what we're doing right now. And then November and December is green as well. So this is really what my calendar looks like. It greatly reduces the stress in my life. I used to be stressed out amongst max. I was so overweight at one point in my life because it was just like a comforting thing. Now I have more time for vacation, for my family, doing whatever interests me more. I took back control of my clients. I took back control of my firm, and it really allowed me to take back control of my entire life. I'm leading the life I want to live. I got into business. I love what I do. I love being an accountant. I love doing the work. But I realized it took total control of me. It's like my schedule and my clients had to say of what my life was. I mean, one of the reasons I got into this was I didn't want to be like a doctor on call, or I didn't want to be an attorney where, the client's calling you from jail. I like, accountants, we're generally organized people, and I like order in our life. Well, but we lost that for some reason. Now we're regaining that order. But this isn't it. It isn't it. This isn't everything. It even gets better. So Marie, next slide. Clients and billing. I'm sure many of you taken seminars and talked about the concept of flat fee billing. There's advantage to both of us. To clients, they love a small business client. What's my monthly budget? $600, great. Jim gets paid $600. That covers all my work, and they know there's nothing else. It doesn't prevent. They aren't hesitating to call or email you, and they don't do it a lot. But when they do, it's something that because you've answered it correctly for them, is saving you a 20, 30-minute problem down the line when they make a bad mistake on something. But clients aren't afraid to call, and that few-minute call now all of a sudden saves time down the line. And for me, I really have very little AR. The only AR I have is tax season, where clients come in and you're emailing returns in the flow. You got to follow up and get paid on them sometimes. But 97% of my clients, I auto debit and charge the first of their month, either auto debit from the bank, credit card charge. They pay their payroll like that to other people. They pay their insurances like that, their car payments. Everybody else is on auto payment. Why shouldn't we, the accountant, be? So you establish a flat fee bill. You know in general how much time and effort you put into that client. You can look back and say, yeah, based on the volume of transactions and the type of return it is, you've been doing it long enough. You really understand in general how much time you're going to spend on it. You bump up a couple of hours for the consultations. You put in a couple of dollars for the technology fee, because of the systems that we're talking about. Because instead of them going out and pay for it, I have provided to them. It's included. Well, it's in their flat fee bill, but to them, it's included. Clients like included. I also don't take every client that comes to my door. I mean, some of them, I literally have to say is that, I'm sorry, I think you're going to be better served by another accountant. I just don't do that. I finally started literally listening to advice I gave to my clients for years, which was, for instance, if you're a pizzeria, you make the best pizza in town, sell pizza. Don't have menu boards of chicken, veal, fish, pasta, salads, wraps, paninis. Sell pizza. And I realized I was never even following my own advice. I am very good at being a small business and individual taxation accountant. And people are coming with these other projects and other things and wanting to do it in every which way and shape and form. I just finally said no. and I'm saner, I'm calmer, and I'm far more profitable for it. So right from the get-go, I set the expectations with the engagement on my terms. When I go and I say out to the client, I listen to the client, but I tell them, listen, this is how we're going to do things. So how do I know that things got better? Next slide, Marie. Results have changed. I've tracked that my profits have increased, and this is conservative. I think it's more, but I don't want to, really push the envelope. Profits have increased over 30% a year, because we're accountants. There's two components to this equation here: revenue and expenses. Now, we all know that we all want to drive revenue, more clients, more revenue. But if you're spending $2 to get to $1, that doesn't make any sense. We need to learn to say no. Now, expenses, they're depending what country, part of the country you live in and work in. I could tell you here in the Northeast, in New Jersey, occupancy is very expensive. Luckily I was just able to purchase our own building. We'll be moving into it next year, and that's going to have a much lower occupancy cost. But you look at your, depending, that's a big cost is occupancy. But what is the most important, the most largest line item I see on mine, as well as many of my clients' financials? Staffing. Employees cost us the most. Technology is expensive. It can be. It doesn't look cheap. It doesn't come cheap, but it's far cheaper than employees. And that was really the answer to the question we started back in the very beginning is, other practitioners did not understand, Jim, how do you produce the volume of work with the level of staff you have? And it's leveraging technology, leveraging the bank feed functions where you're not doing manual entries. Even in my individual tax processes, I don't use a program like SurePrep or any of the tax preps, but some offices that works very well in. Because before those became available, I kind of made a human version of that where, scan the data in, you have those clerical tax season additional help, they enter in all the base data. Most tax offers, I'm a Thomson Reuters guy, I use UltraTax. WYSIWYG, you see a W-2 on the screen, you enter the data. You don't need to be a trained accountant for that. But that's where when the file gets to me, there's a lot more data done. I have a lot less work to be done, and because of the processes you should set up, that is building profits, that's building efficiencies. And another is you're always looking out for new profit centers. I mean, I just talked to you about payroll. I know a lot of people still shy away from doing their own live payroll for a myriad of reasons. But I've done it, and I'm glad I've done it. I'm never looking back. But you always have to be looking for new profit centers. One I just share with you off the cuff right now that I've gotten into, college planning. And a key law change this past year has really now made college planning a new profit center you really should look into. Why is that? FAFSA, the key financial aid, free financial federal aid form, used to open up January 1st. It was due, and the processing of that was right in the middle of tax season. What's the last thing we want is more work during tax season. So changes in laws, and then what even made it more confusing was, it opened up in January. It was due, by March, they wanted it in, February, March, but they wanted it for a complete financial data for the year before. Now, if you got everybody's returns on extension, you don't even have the information to do the FAFSA form. Now they backed it up. They got, the Department of Education got smart. FAFSA opens up October 1st, and they're using the data from the prior year. So FAFSA just opened up October 1st, a month ago, and you're using the 2015 tax and income data. So now, well, this is our slowest time of the year. So again, sharing with you things that I've just started researching and getting into, because there's a direct correlation between what we do and college planning and filling out FAFSA forms, because it comes right off of the tax returns. So this is all my reality, a reality brought by change. All right, next slide, Marie. But the one thing we all know, change is not easy. I can tell you it's worthwhile, but it's not easy. We have to talk to our clients. We have to talk to our staff. Listen to them. Hear what troubles them. Just like I took and analyzed my practice and identified what the pains were, what really bothered me and how things were working. Listen to clients. Listen to your staff. Then when you talk to them, how did I get my clients to change? I provided them a solution. That e-checkbook that I was talking about before. not a bookkeeping system, not an accounting system. That they think that's too confusing. But provide them an easy to use electronic checkbook, you're giving them everything they want. But guess what? You're giving it to them. You're still charging them a fee for the write-up work you used to do, and now you're accessing a system where 80% of the data is there, and then using features like bank feeds, the other 20 gets auto-populated. Our job is just getting a lot easier, a lot more efficient. But now, more importantly, our staff. I know, our staff. You don't pitch it as change. Again, pitch it as a solution to a problem. They don't like manual data entry. The same headaches you have, they have, except they finally got used to this is the way we do it. Well, change was painful. But it basically was, be the leader of your office. You're the boss. You're the owner. Be the leader. Stand up. Provide the staff the tools they need to succeed. It's yes, change is difficult. It can hurt. It's painful. But we have to realize everything in life, change is inevitable. We can't fight it. We have to embrace it. The old adage, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's very true. Mitigate that pain by planning for changes and implementing your plan. On your terms, as you lay it out, when you want it, not when it's forced upon you. Forced upon you. Remember, for example, e-filing. What was it, back 10 years ago, give or take, when they mandated e-filing upon everybody? I'd have the practitioners call me, Jim, what are you going to do? Oh, my goodness. Are you going to charge for it? I said, what do you mean what I'm going to do? I've been doing e-filing for 2 years already. And they were astounded. I read a survey once, and it was very telltale. Literally 1% of accountants are considered on the cutting edge, on the leading edge of technology, like really wanting to implement things right away. I'm not even there. I'm not telling you I am. 3%, I feel like I'm in the 3%ers, where new technology is out. You've seen it. You read about it. People are using it, and you're an early innovator. You're putting it into service in the first year of its rollout. Everybody else, to the next 15%, they don't implement it until they really realize, all right, the writing's on the wall. I see that. It's here to stay. That's only 15%. 85% of our industry will not make a change until their backs are up against the wall, until they're forced into doing it, like e-filing. And then all of a sudden, everybody was scrambling. OMG, how am I going to get this done? Again, I used to put the term before, being proactive instead of reactive. And if you modify your schedule like I'm urging you to do, and reshuffling how you process the work, you do have more free time to properly investigate and find out what are these things that are out there in our industry that can help you and do it better. So, there is a learning curve, but I can tell you, the software that's out there now, the software I use, the learning curve is not months, weeks, days. It's hours for some people. I put my clients on, Accountants World products, and in 1 or 2 hours, they're like, this is easy. The time is basically, when it comes to your practice, the time is now. You're driving. Your practice is a car. You're driving along. You have a leak in your tire. It's constantly leaking air. Are you going to constantly just keep stopping over and pulling into the repair station or into the service station and filling it up with air and just filling it up with air and filling it up with air? No. Stop the insanity. Change and fix the tire. Plug the hole. And the end result is, really, wish we did this years ago. My lead processor, my head bookkeeper, when I changed software platforms in 2010, thought I was crazy. She was ready to quit. Gently urged her through it, convinced her it's all better. We're solving problems. We're not creating new ones. When it was done, I got the biggest apology and the biggest thank you, because she said, I wish we did this years ago. So time for poll question number 3. Marie.
All right, thanks, Jim. And in a second, we're actually going to go over some of those products that Jim was talking about. But for poll question number 3, just take a moment to answer the question, will you make changes to your practice based on some of the processes that Jim has in his own practice? Okay, wow, that's pretty impressive. All right, obviously, this webinar is very helpful. Thank you so much, Jim, for being here with us today. It looks like many of you on the call today have decided to make changes based on what you've seen in Jim's practice. So for those of you that would like to learn more about the products that Jim uses to achieve all the efficiencies that he just talked about, if you stay with me for just a few more minutes, I'm going to go over products that Jim is using and the pricing.
All right.
But first,
let me just say thank you to everybody for being and listening today, because I think my end is pretty much coming to an end. I just want to strive another mindset. Become that strategic business partner to your client, not just a service provider, and look for a technology provider that wants to be a strategic business partner to you, and not just somebody who sells you software. That is key. And as Marie said, I've chosen and used majority of the accountants or products to accomplish what I do today, and what I've spoke about today. So I want to hand it back over to Marie. She can talk to you all about the products and what I use to get what I do done.
All right, thanks so much, Jim. Okay, let's take a quick look at some of the other firms that are using our products. So in addition to, Jim's firm, as you can see, we service all types of accounting firms, including some of the top 100 firms, RSM, HBK, JCCS, and a lot of others that you can see here. Okay, this is our Power Practice system, which includes our accounting package along with 5 other products designed on one platform that integrate seamlessly. So first you have our Accounting Power solution, which is a write-up and bookkeeping package that you can use to do write-up, bookkeeping, trial balance, and professional financial statements for your clients. Next, we have the Cloud Cabinet. It's a document management system and client document portal that you can use to store and share documents with your clients, and it integrates with our accounting and payroll solutions. You have our Website Relief solution, which is going to enable you to create a very professional-looking website where you can even have clients logging in to your virtual portal to do, accounting, bookkeeping, or payroll. Practice Relief, which is a time and billing system that you could use to manage your staff and your practice more effectively, and our after-the-fact payroll system. After-the-fact payroll you can use if you're just doing compliance forms for some of your clients, and it's really a great program. All right. As you can see, our accounting program called Accounting Power has earned the highest award offered by CPA Practice Advisor, which is 5 stars. It's a great program. And pricing for all of the solutions is only $21.95 for the year. That's right. So for $21.95, you're going to get the accounting solution, the Cloud Cabinet, the website solution, the time and billing solution, and the after-the-fact payroll solution. Everything is included. Now, let's talk for a moment about live payroll. If you need a live payroll solution, or if you're looking to upgrade the one that you have now, Payroll Relief is our program. It's got unparalleled automation of all the compliance tasks. Tax payments are done automatically. Compliance form filing is done automatically. We've got next generation batch processing of checks, emails, and W-2s that's going to help you to save a lot of time. We've got payroll reports and management tools to help you to manage and analyze your practice better. We've got, the program helps you to manage clients of all sizes. All right, so you could manage all sizes and needs that you may come across. Payroll Relief will help you to compete with some of the bigger service bureaus like ADP and Paychex. All right, we'll show you the pricing in a minute. You'll have unlimited support at no additional cost. Cost is going to be based on your check volume, not your client count, so generating profits will be a breeze. Your price per check includes everything, the W-2s, 1099s, and all of the other reporting requirements. Okay, it's because of all these features that we have. The Payroll Relief processes $4 billion in transactions every year. Accountants World is one of only a handful of companies that's passed the IRS assurance testing system, and Payroll Relief has been rated 5 stars 4 years in a row by CPA Practice Advisor as well. All right, quickly we'll talk about the pricing for payroll relief. It's between 45 cents and $1.15 per check, and it's all inclusive. Now, this is big because this is pricing that's going to enable you to help compete with those bigger bureaus like ADP and Paychex. While they're nickel and diming you for everything, with our pricing, you won't have any additional fees for W-2s, 1099s, direct deposits, or supports. It's all inclusive. You know what you're paying up front, and you won't be paying a dime more. All right, we also have a special first-year pricing that's designed for growth. It's a flat fee for unlimited processing, where you could process an unlimited amount of payroll in your first 12 months. That fee is $14.95. For $14.95, again, you can do unlimited payroll for 1 full year. Everything is included, as I talked about earlier. Everything that you see on this screen is included. Okay. So we have one final poll question, and we'd like to thank you for attending and for taking the time to view this webinar today. We hope it was very helpful for many of you. And if you could take one final second to answer this final poll question. It's a question on how you'd like to proceed. So if you'd like to learn more about the Power Practice System, you can indicate that. If you'd like to learn more about payroll relief, indicate that as well. And if you'd be interested in seeing or hearing about both solutions, let us know. We'll have someone give you a call. Again, thank you for attending, and we appreciate your time and look forward to hearing from you.